Hello everyone and welcome to episode 6 of the Switch It podcast, a series where myself and Bailey talk everything football. Lil, good game, bad game, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely a good game. There was positives and negatives in this one. I was at the game and it's always good to be at Anfield on a Champions League night under the lights. Obviously you know that yourself. But yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
overall good to get the win. Top of the Champions League still and we've qualified for the last eight. Well, not last eight.
Yeah, Salah scored as well.
Yeah, Salah scoring as well is always good, and it was a great finish under the circumstances. I think also up until that point, the atmosphere was a little bit tetchy, and it felt a bit quiet up until that point. But then once he scored, it kind of shut the Lille fans up a little bit, and the momentum and the atmosphere was more in our favour, if you know what I mean. So, I thought.
Yeah,
I thought whilst it was 1-0,
Lille's a tough fixture.
Yeah, they held the shape very well, and they were really hard to break down and get through when Liverpool were attacking in particular. But yeah, overall, I think Lille's position in the Champions League is justified with the performance they put in, because I think even when they went down to 10 men, they still showed themselves very well, and they scored their goal, didn't they, whilst they had 10 men. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But from your point of view, what did you think of the game from wherever you were watching it?
First 30, it was one of them games where, like, usually when I'm watching Liverpool, I'm like, proper stressing out, this, that, and the other. But I was quite chilled watching the game because we're already qualified for the top 8. Yeah. Obviously, you want us to come first. There's no doubt about that. But
yeah,
whether we lose that game or not, we still. The outcome doesn't change. We're still in the round of 16.
Yeah, we're in the round of 16. I think the only outcome difference is the opponent that we face. If we come second, I'm not sure if the opponent could be someone slightly more challenging. But I know that there's a few of the bigger teams which are in the lower areas of that of the playoff phases. Like, for example, PSG put in a good performance against City last night.
Yeah. But I don't think it will. I don't think it will, because they're not gonna play from the draw. They're not gonna play 9th. They're not gonna play 24th against 23rd.
No.
And then 22nd against 21st.
No.
And then have them against like first in the league. What they're gonna do is they're gonna put 9th to 24th.
Well, we'll only find out
in a draw.
We'll only find out the opposition after the knockouts.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a draw. It's not gonna be like fixed. So it was against the bottom of the playoff teams. So I don't think it really changes that much. So that's why I was quite chilled out watching the game.
Yeah,
I'm quite happy about Salah.
Yeah.
Salah scoring.
And to be fully honest, as well, as much as everyone's saying, oh yeah, if we lose that game, we'll probably finish second and all that. In a realistic world, I back us to beat Eindhoven at their place, and also Barcelona haven't just got it easy. It's not like they've got an instant win, because they've got to play Atalanta, who won the Europa League last year, and that it's never an easy place to go to as well, because it's at Atalanta. So
yeah, they won 5-0.
By no means is it. Oh yeah, Barcelona are going to finish top. I think Liverpool are always going to be favourite now, because they've not lost a game in the Champions League all year. Barcelona have. So it's still to play for in Barcelona's eyes, but I think Liverpool can go to Eindhoven next week and feel pretty comfortable, and there's no pressure on that game at all, really, and it's a chance for Slot to rotate again.
Yeah, and we've shown that when we rotate, we can still get good results.
Yeah, absolutely, and even if it's not particularly going our way, like we saw yesterday, not yesterday, the day before on Tuesday when I was at the game.
Yeah.
The substitutions that Slot made definitely had a good impact on the game, because I saw Endo come on, and overall in the midfield we just started to look a bit calmer and composed, and McAllister was making really good challenges. I think whatever subs we decide to bring on, there's that added strength.
Yeah, we seem to be blessed in options coming off the bench, whether it's
definitely.
Gakpo or... Well, if it's our strong side, it's always, we have Nunes, Jota, Chiesa. But in that game, it's like, safe. Obviously, we weren't, but if we were 1-0 down, it was a tough game. We have the likes of, Elliot, Chiesa, Gakpo.
I know.
All strong players, first-team players on the bench.
That comes to our advantage as well, because not every team has that on the bench. We've got a real embarrassment of riches up front. We've got so many attacking players in such depth as well, and even the likes of Jadon Dans, he was on the bench for the Lille game, and I was eager for him to get a run out, but he didn't in the end. But I definitely want to see a lot more of him, starting to be introduced into the squad a lot more, which, to be fair, at his age, the games that he is getting, it's really good. You can't sniff at the opportunities that he has had in the past, like he started in the Carabao Cup final and things like that. So, he has been a real good player for Liverpool, and I think if we sent him out on loan, part of me would be thinking, oh well, it's a shame that, because I'd like to see him carry on playing at Liverpool, but in terms of his career, it might actually benefit him going and playing a season or half a season somewhere else, even in the Championship, for example, similar to like Doak and Scanlon and Kate Gordon, for example. They've all gone to Championship clubs and they're all doing really well. So you sort of think for his progression in his career, that's something like going to a Championship team might work for him.
Yeah, he's never going to get more than like 5 starts for Liverpool in a season, and that's just...
But for a Championship...
Everyone knows that's not enough for a football team.
Exactly, and he's definitely
a football player.
He's Championship worthy. If not, he's a lower league Prem team worthy. And to be fair, if he's proven himself for Liverpool, and Liverpool's the best team in the world right now, so any team that took him on as an up and coming striker project, for example, or a backup striker who's gonna get minutes every game, I think he's going to be a real prospect. And also, I think if Liverpool sold him, then we'd be losing out on a massive talent there, because his finishing ability is brilliant.
Yeah, and we've seen that in cup competition as well.
Yeah, definitely. So,
I mean, going off like how good we've been, like the first, because obviously the group phase is nearly over. We've already seen how good we've been. Where do you see that progressing to? Do you think it's a semis, a final?
I mean,
where do you see it?
Yeah, as a Liverpool fan, I think to have the high aspirations is always a good thing. You see all these Liverpool fans saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to win a lot and everything," but I actually agree with them, because sometimes having such high expectations of the players can give the players something to work towards, and it gives them that little bit of added motivation. And you don't see any other team really, other than Arsenal, whose fan base I can't stand. You don't really see any other team this year in the Premier League saying, "Oh yeah, confidently we can win a lot of competitions here." But the Champions League, for me, I think we've been one of the only teams really who have been consistently good home and away. You see some teams in the Champions League, they struggle away from home, but we've not really had any issues away from home, and we have played tough opposition. We've been and played AC Milan at the San Siro. We've played Leipzig. It's not been easy games, and we've also had Real Madrid at home, Leverkusen at home, who were invincible last season. It's not like we've had an easy 7 games up to now in the Champions League. I think Liverpool deservedly, with the results we've got, we've won our games fair and square. And there's been...
Yeah, I mean, there are good teams, but it's not like... It doesn't compare to what we're doing, even close, like the control.
Exactly.
Like, there's good teams like Arsenal, Barca, Madrid, Atletico Madrid doing well in the Champions League, but
Liverpool
they're not doing it consistently, are they?
No,
like us.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the stereotypes around Liverpool are it's Slot's first season, it's bound to go badly at some point. But I don't actually agree with that. I think that if anything was going to go badly, it was going to be straight. It was going to be early on in the season when Slot was still figuring out his players. Learning who's good in what role. I think Slot's discovered this team and he's drilled in his way of play really quickly. And yeah, we had that.
Yeah, because
We had that loss to Forest, and that was a little blip. But I think if there's anything going to go wrong, it'd take a massive disaster to firstly not get anywhere in the Champions League, but also to drop out of the title race or lose all our points in the Prem. I think it'd take a really bad spell of games to all of a sudden start saying, oh yeah, well Arsenal are favourites for the Prem now, which I don't agree with. I think they aren't good enough either, to be honest. So.
Yeah, because when you have a manager and you see them struggle, it's always in the first period. So with Amarim or any other manager, it's always in the first period. It's not after they've had their first 6 months they start struggling. You'd always see it in the first period, and then they get better.
Yeah.
Like once the manager's had the time with the players, it's like anywhere in the world. Like once you get to know everyone and you're comfortable in something, and that's going so well, it'd be very, very unusual and difficult for that to go wrong.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and also, I think if you compare this season to last season, we're in a much better position in terms of injuries. We're in a much better position there in that kind of aspect. But also, we have more points at this part of the season than we did last year, and it all stems last year for me from when we lost against Man United at Old Trafford in the FA Cup and we got knocked out. It all started to go a bit downhill from there, and I'm actually praying that nothing like that happens again this year. But saying it could happen, but I'm hoping it doesn't. But
I think another factor is Arsenal and City.
Sorry, if it did, I think the big thing is the players there's a lot of players in that team which were still here last year, and the big thing for me is to not let what happened last year happen. And I think the Liverpool players are going to know from that mistake and they'll learn from it, and they should hopefully really defend the lead that they've got. Because it's not often that you get 15 points ahead in a title race. I think it's only 8 now, but we are 15 points ahead of City. It's not often you get that big of a gap from these bigger teams. And keeping that lead is so important, in my opinion. And if we can do that, if we can do that, that proves the team that we are.
Yeah, and City aren't at what they were last season, and Arsenal have these injury problems. It's a lot more in our control, whereas last season it was just a pure title race.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas this season it's, are Liverpool going to win or are they going to slip up? People aren't saying, are City going to win instead? Everyone's talking about it's going to be Liverpool.
Yeah.
It's in Liverpool's control.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so vital for us to get over the line.
Exactly, and you can't prove these people right in saying, oh yeah, well Liverpool are gonna slip up at some point. It's our job to prove to everyone else that this team isn't. It's not a team that just messes up a lead like we've got or bottles it, because if we want first of all, Man United have got 20 league titles and we want to match that because we're on 19 right now, and it'll pack in the old 20 times Man United song. That won't be a thing anymore because we'll have matched them. So that would be a massive thing for Liverpool as a club. And also, I think it's just so important. I think Liverpool have been so unlucky the last few years with obviously Manchester City just beating us by a point that year, and we had a 98 point season where City beat us by only a point or two. We had a 90 plus point season where we played incredibly, but we just missed out. I think we've been hard done by in ways. I think a league title for Liverpool at this stage would be so important. It'd be such a reward for the players as well, because we do deserve it really, but we just need to make sure that this second half of the season we put in just as much of effort and play in exactly the same way as we have been doing in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about how, you know, the Premier League is so important. Do you not think when it gets to a later stage in the season and we're, you know, quarters, semis and finals of the Champions League, do you not think our focus will be more on the Premier League and that could hinder, you know, our Champions League?
I don't think it will hinder the Champions League, but I think what we should do, a club decision should be that our focus isn't took off anything. You know, our focus should be on every game, and that's what the difference between Slot is and Klopp, in my opinion, is that they take every game, game by game, and they focus on everything and they want to win. You know, that their mindset is to win every single match. I'm not saying Klopp wasn't like that, because without a doubt he was, but at certain stages in a season where, for example, we were deciding, oh yeah, well, we're not going to win the league, so we'll focus on the Champions League, or we're not going to win the Champions League now, so let's focus on the FA Cup. It sort of went like that a little bit, and our momentum in one competition would be better than another, if you know what I'm getting at. But
Yeah,
I think
100%.
I think with Slot, you've seen in this first half of the season that, you know, his competition doesn't slip. His competition and fight doesn't slip in any of the competitions that Liverpool play in. You know, he is up for it. You know, he gets his team up for it every single game, and that is one thing that I do like about Arne Slot, is that he has a similar mentality, you know, as Liverpool had before. But I think he's going to really drill it into these players to not let that slip. Or if we start performing badly in one competition, that, oh yeah, we should just forget about that now and just move on to something else and try and win that. You know, I think we should really be going for everything that we've got the opportunity to, because, you know, for some players in this Liverpool team, it might be the last opportunity they get to do that. So, yeah, in my opinion, it's so vital to. In my opinion, the top of the list is the Premier League. You know, if we're not going to win anything else, I think we have to win the Premier League, and then the Champions League after that. I'm not overly, as a Liverpool fan, you know, other Liverpool fans that might disagree, but I'm not overly bothered about the FA Cup and Carabao Cup. But if we did get to the final or win it, I would be over the moon, obviously, if we won the FA or Carabao Cup. But the Champions League and the Premier League, to me, it'd be brilliant if we could just win them two this year, or one of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Maybe not. Maybe I don't really agree with the FA Cup one, but the Carabao Cup, we've seen it in the past few years where we've won that and not the Premier League. So, you know, I'd want to see one of the bigger trophies, an FA, a Champions League, a Premier League.
Yeah, the one for me though, I would just like us to. I want to see Liverpool win the Premier League. You know, it
feels, that's top priority.
It feels like it never happens. We always do well in Europe, and obviously we won the Champions League not that long ago. But I really hope that if we don't win the Premier League, we do win the Champions League. But if we and vice versa, if we don't win the Champions League, that we do win the Prem. I think at least winning one of them two is it'd be so important to the club, and as a Liverpool fan as well, I think I just really want to see us win the league again.
Yeah,
because we're in such a fortunate position, and to let that go, it'd be probably one of the biggest bottle jobs in history if we didn't go ahead and win the league. So. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely would be.
Yeah.
So we made it 2-1 in the little game. Who scored that second goal?
Sorry, what was
Harvey
that?
Elliott.
Oh yeah, Harvey Elliott.
Did you see his celebration?
Yeah, it was. He wasn't going anywhere. He was giving the all talk celebration. There was a lot of speculation.
I was seeing if you clocked on to that one.
Yeah, I saw it. I actually got it on record. So if you head over to our YouTube shorts, you should be able to see. I managed to get the Elliott goal on clip when I was at the game, which was pretty good. So yeah, you can see that there. But yeah, I think it was a class.
He's a brilliant player, isn't he?
It was a class act from Harvey Elliott to do that, and especially when you're being interviewed over a potential move elsewhere. I think he handled that in the interview after the game so well, because he was just saying, like, Liverpool's my club. I want to be here. I don't want to be going anywhere else. And I think that gives the Liverpool fans a lot more assurance than we did, because we heard all the speculation, but we weren't actually too sure whether it was true or not, because Elliot kept so quiet. So for him to come out and say, this is my club, I want to fight for my place in the team, I think it's brilliant from him, and he's been performing so well as of late as well.
I think it's so hard for him because the past 2 years it was with the Chelsea game. He had that brilliant start to the season.
Yeah.
And then he's had a major injury and he's had to, fight for his place back in the team, and then the same thing has happened again. But everyone in Anfield is so happy about that celebration because, he's not a new signing. We know how good of a player he is.
Yeah, he's brilliant, and the only thing in my head I was thinking is that Harvey Elliott he was right in saying that he has to fight for his place in the team, because we have so many good players as well as Harvey Elliott, and that's not saying Elliott's not as good, because he is just as good as everyone else, but we see in the midfield it's often Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch, and then if anyone else is going to make the team, like Jones for example, it's purely on a rotation basis. So I think Elliott wants to get to the same kind of level where he's in the question for starting in the midfield, but also as an attacking player we often see him play on the right wing if Salah's not there as well. In the cup game against Southampton, that's where he played, and he does just as well on the right wing as well. So as an attacking midfield or a right wing option, it's good that he can play multiple positions, because you don't often get a player like that in a team who can drift between both positions or play one or the other. So it is really good for Harvey Elliott that he's come out and said that he wants to fight for his place. Because why wouldn't he? He's playing at the best club in the world. Why would he want to move away from that? He's getting his opportunities. He's taking them. So and that's all you can do. He'll be on top money. You can't argue if you're Harvey Elliott if you're in his position. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, and
that,
he's good enough.
He's
good enough to do that as well.
I'd be loving it.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Also, Tsimikas has started 2 games now in a row, and he played the full 90 against Lille.
Yeah.
Do you think that's saying something?
I think that he played the full.
We're seeing it throughout the season.
I think because he played.
That he's slowly taken over.
Yeah, I think because he played the full 90 against Lille, I think that straight away tells me that Andy Robertson's going to be playing against Ipswich. But I might be wrong there.
But Slot's want to play his strongest team, and he's played.
Yeah, exactly that. But I do think.
Thing is, you think because he started Brentford. So the game before Brentford, Tsimikas played, he came off 63. Then the next game Robertson played, Tsimikas came on at 63. So then you think the same thing would happen against Lille and then Ipswich, but Tsimikas played the full 90 against Lille.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So
I won't be surprised if Robertson plays the full 90 against Ipswich and Tsimikas plays against Eindhoven, to be honest. I think in Slot's mind, I think Tsimikas and Robertson are a very similar level at the moment, because Robertson has slightly dropped down a level, if you kind of get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I'd completely agree with that myself.
So in my opinion, if I was Slot, I'm thinking, right, well, the fairest way to go here is to give them equal playing time and rotate. If one of them's going to play or start, then bring the other one on with half an hour to go, or vice versa. But also, they could just be rotating every game. They could just be taking turns almost for a short while.
Yeah, I mean, it's working well. We have two very good left backs, and they're both being injury free.
Yeah, and I think the pairs. If I had to pick which one I've preferred to see this season, I'm gonna say Tsimikas. He just edges it a little bit, because I'm not sure what's happened with Andy Robertson, but he just seems to have dropped down a little bit of a level. He's not as good as he was last season, but I would like to see him more for a start. But I would like to see him put in a really good performance, because I don't think there's been a standout performance for Robertson this season, but there has been a few for Tsimikas. So I would be saying that it'd be common sense as a Liverpool fan to say, well, it's going to be obvious Robertson's going to start against Ipswich, and then Tsimikas will start against Eindhoven, and then vice versa. It could just end up being a complete rotation thing, and they're just getting equal playing time. But I don't know. Slot might favour Tsimikas as starting. He's not really said anything in a press conference yet. He's just really said that both of them are going to get the chances, type of thing. So it's a tricky one, that. I don't know what your thoughts on it are, but
yeah,
I think that.
Yeah,
I think that if
I agree.
Common logic would say that Robertson's going to be starting on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. So if we quickly go back to the Champions League before we move on to Ipswich, it's looking like it's going to be a really interesting game week 8, as all the games are played at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And that PSG City game last night, I don't know if you were watching it, but oh my God, was I happy about that. That was one hell of a game.
Yeah.
A lot of celebrations in that game, I'll tell you that for a fact. Yeah, fuck City, honestly, fuck them.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet with that one, but the learning point for City there is that they can't go 2-0 up and then just think that they can sit back and see the game out. That's the learning point. You can't go 2-0 up and then concede 4 goals. The head's just completely gone, didn't they?
Yeah, it looks like a completely different PSG side. That I was watching the game, and the press, everything about that was completely different to watching it when the 3 superstars were there. I don't think they would have came from being 2-0 down, that other PSG team. No way. They wouldn't have fought. They would have just cried about it.
Yeah,
100%.
Another game that we saw in the Champions League was the Barcelona-Benfica game. And, I mean, I think you have more to talk about than I did. I just saw the scoreline, but wow.
Yeah, I saw a video of the Benfica manager hammering the players, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, to go from, what was it, 4-1 down? I think they were 4-2 up, and they lost. They were either 4-2 or 4-3 up, and they lost 5-4. Yeah, I mean,
in the 96th to Rafinha. What a player, by the way.
As Benfica go, it's just unacceptable that for any team really to have a scoreline like that and then let it go.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it's just not good enough, is it really? Though I think there was a little bit of a questionable call towards the end when Rafinha scored in the build-up. I think there was a foul or something, which I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think one of them, like, for VAR to overturn it, it's way too soft, and it's just more of a coming together, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. So, shall we head towards the Liverpool game against Ipswich at the weekend?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so it's at 3:00 on Saturday, which is the same time of the fixture that we had against Brentford. So.
Yeah,
it's going to be a really interesting game, that, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to the game. I think it might be a little bit chill. I feel like we're going to control the game. Yeah. However, Liam Delap's a very good player, and I'm thinking, will Konate still be out? Can he target Kwanzaa? But other than that, I don't really see much threat from them, especially coming from a 6-0 defeat against a City team that's not even that amazing at the minute.
Yeah. It was an off day for Ipswich, that game. I did watch a bit of that game, and some of the goals they were conceding was just, it was common. It was just basics, really. Basic errors in the build-up to the goals. One player, though, that Ipswich have just signed on loan from Brighton is Julio Enciso, and it's going to be interesting to see if he ends up making a start for Ipswich against Liverpool, make his debut for Ipswich. In fact, but Julio Enciso.
Has Philogene played for them yet?
Yeah, he came off the bench the other week. Yeah, but
yeah, so they have a few.
Average, but they have a few really good players coming back. You just sort of think with these couple of new signings, is there a few teething issues at the minute? With them settling in. But I think
Yeah.
from Ipswich's standards, from the other results they've had this season, to lose 6-0 is just, it's not good enough at all, is it really?
Yeah, but I mean, if you could play one of the promoted sides, it wouldn't be Ipswich. And if you think if one of the promoted sides will stay up, it'll probably be Ipswich. I mean, they do have some good players. Like, they have solid defenders. They do have some Premier League proven players like, Ben Johnson, Calvin Phillips when he played for Leeds.
Yeah.
Philogene got minutes for Villa. Liam Delap's been good this season. Sammy Schmodix has been good this season. So they're not a bad side compared to Southampton.
No.
Southampton.
Yeah, so shall we go for a score prediction?
Yeah, I think. Which was the last game? Lille. What did you say? You said 3-0, didn't you?
Did I say 3-0?
Yeah, you said 3-0. Yeah. I said 3-1.
Alright, okay, so
I think that's me. I think that's 3-3.
Yeah, it's 3-3 in the predictions, so
Back in the game.
Yeah, Ipswich at the weekend though, I'm gonna go with 2-0 to Liverpool. I don't think it's gonna be a walk in the park, but I think we'll get the job done, sort of thing.
You said 2-0. We can't say the same thing, can we?
No, so
I think it'll be 2-0 as well.
I'm going 2-0, so
I'll go 4-0.
4-0.
Why not? I'll go 4-0.
To do a good job then.
Because it just means if it's like you win if it's 2-0 or 1-0, but I'll win if it's 4-0, 5-0, 6-0.
Yeah, and it's a draw if it's 3-0. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a win, but I think one thing for Liverpool is to just not underestimate Ipswich, because I do think that the Man City game was just solely an off day.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out this forfeit, aren't we?
Oh yeah, we'll have to think of that. I think when we get Joe.
When do you reckon we'll be?
I think when we get Joe back on, we'll tell him to have made
a
decision by the time he comes back on. I think he's coming on in a few weeks when I'm not here, so.
Yeah, he'll have something good to say about that, I think.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Well, not good for us anyway.
No, yeah. Yeah. So it'll be good. So.
Yeah, should we have a look at the lineup we've gone for the game?
Yeah, we can do, yeah.
So, obviously, the goalkeeper is very obvious.
Yeah, Alisson.
It's Alisson, yeah. Trent, VVD, Tsimikas. I'm just going to say the obvious ones because they're just so obvious. I think the only talking points we'd have is the only names we need to mention are the ones that are 50-50.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Kanate will be back after he was rested against Lille, and I think Robertson will start. I think they're obvious calls really, but let's move into the midfield.
I think the midfield is it's just style. I think it's our best midfield, and everyone knows it right now.
Yeah.
Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, they just work.
Yeah.
And then obviously Gakpo on the left, Salah on the right.
Okay.
The interesting one is Diaz or Nunes, isn't it?
It'll probably be Diaz.
Shot out.
It'll probably be Diaz.
Yeah, Diaz came off, didn't he?
Well, I think
Diaz came off early.
I think Nunes played 90 against Lille, so I think.
Yeah, he did.
I think it'll be Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah up front.
And then Nunes might just play again against Eindhoven.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's about it really after predicted lineup. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is one more thing about the Ipswich game is. Do you see it maybe being a bit cagey towards the start? I feel like in our past few games, I just don't think we've just taken a while to get into games.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and
I think that's the one thing.
Yeah, it
was the same with Lille, Brentford, Forest, Spurs, United.
Yeah, it's been a common thing really in the season really that Liverpool haven't made a good start out of the blocks. It's always in the second half when we get into the second gear. But to be fair to Liverpool, against Lille, we scored a goal in the first half. I think it was after 29 minutes or so. I think that's actually one of the best starts we've had to a season, because Lille by no means are an easy opponent, but I think the team as a whole, I think we determined the type of team Lille were, and we figured out a way to break through them, and we capitalised on that when Salah scored. And as a whole, it was probably one of the better, calmer, and then capitalisation starts to a game that we've seen all season, really.
Yeah. I think maybe my point doesn't really go to the Lille game, it's more to some of the others before that.
More for the Prem game, but I think in terms of using the Lille game as a momentum booster, I think it can definitely link to your point, because I think we'll have a bit more confidence in the first half and a bit more boost, to make a quick start and get ahead in the game before half time. Basically, we want to be getting 2 goals up, really, and just killing the game off, so there's no way back into the game for the opposition, really, don't we?
But that's who we are. Like we've always been like that. We always come into the game later on. So when we come out in the second half, and so we go into a game, everyone at Anfield is quite chill at the start, because you say to yourself, there's still loads of time, but we struggle to kick on, and then it gets to the 50-60 mark, and the fans are like, shit. And then, we make our subs, and these subs are very good subs, and they sort of start creating these chances, and then that's where the fans start riling up and momentum swings, and that's what I feel like always happens at Anfield.
Yeah, I agree, yeah. And I think, I totally agree with you on that point. And another thing, just before we finish, that I'd like to mention about this Ipswich game in terms of a Liverpool perspective as well, is when we see these opportunities come up, when we do get maybe ahead by a goal or two before half time, do you think that'll give Slot more of an incentive to give players such as like Chiesa a few more minutes in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I love that player. I want to see him get more minutes, definitely.
Because you sort of think in some of the games we're playing in at the moment, it just feels like, we're getting into these results, and we're getting ourselves into situations where we're maybe a goal behind, or it's 0-0 for a long period of time in the game, and we're switching to our regular players on the bench who know how to get the job done, and potentially the players like Chiesa, who hasn't fully proven himself in a Liverpool shirt yet. He's kind of getting looked past. And the one thing I do appreciate Slot for in the last couple of games is that even when we have been in a tough situation, like when we were in the Brentford game, he brought Chiesa on, and to be fair to Chiesa, he played really well, and Chiesa got game time against Lille as well. So you're sort of thinking with his minutes that he's getting, will he be building up towards a start potentially against Eindhoven? You never know.
Yeah, I mean, with Jota injured, we want at least 2 fast, skillful, creative, inventive attackers to come off the bench. With Jota injured, it opens the door for Chiesa, and
without a doubt, and I'd love to.
He shows that he makes a difference when he comes on, because he's a fast winger,
and I'd love to see him get back to that level.
He's also clinical as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get back to that level as well. When he was in the Euros, he was so good for Italy, and it was proven.
Yeah, he was their best player.
On like FIFA, for example, he had one of the best cards on the game, and he was regarded as one of the best players in the world at the time.
Yeah, he's got that this FIFA on FC25.
Yeah, so like for us to get him for such a bargain, I know he's had his troubles with injury, but a lot of Liverpool fans we're not expecting, but we're hoping to see him back to his best, and that he can really be a standout player for Liverpool at some point, goals wise, performance wise, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything. Yeah. I just wanted to quickly say thank you to everyone who tuned in to today's episode. Obviously, it was a great episode. I think we went through a lot of the stuff that needs to be talked about the Liverpool perspective that everyone's thinking this week, in and around, the fan base. Obviously, like and subscribe and drop a comment. This helps us, improve future videos, where we can improve, what you want to see in the future, like next season, for example. And then if you turn on the notification bell by the subscribe button, you'll be notified every single time we upload a podcast video. And yeah, just thanks to everyone who tuned in. Anything you want to add, Bailey?
No, that's about it. Same thing. Thanks everyone for listening.
No.
I hope that
thanks.
that you come back and listen to the next one.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Goodbye for now, guys.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks. Bye.